Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita, rocker, speaker, author, trainer with SoaringHigher.rocks. Very happy to be here today. And I'm going to be covering some information on mostly career development and growing in our careers, but it has so much to do with who we are inside that will affect the outside and what we actually accomplish in our jobs. So that's very, very important that, first of all, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we need to consider when we're preparing to get a better job or a job or, maybe advance into an entirely different career. There are things that we need to be very cautious of, very careful of, and mindful of in order to get the kind of career we really want to have. And I know from personal experience, there was so many times when I just followed what happened in my family, as far as work, and didn't really use the skills and abilities that I knew I had and the things that I love to do, and this is one of them. And so I'll start out talking a little bit again about our perception and our reality, and then I'll work into following some of the things that you would want to do to actually build the career that you really want and deserve, and the one that is for you and what your nature is. So, mental attitude, which is pretty much everything, affects our personality so much, because whatever our attitude is, it's going to show up in our personality. Are we happy, angry, sad, confident, careful, loving, mean? I mean, there's so many things to a personality. So our temperament is more like how we're hardwired, and then the personality is more like the software, which can be reprogrammed if we work on it and if we need to. I've done that a lot over the years, is trying to reprogram myself in a lot of areas that I really needed to. So mental attitude is the biggest factor for our personalities. So the more you can keep a flexible mental attitude, the stronger you become at controlling your life. And I've noticed lately, especially the last month or so, that things that used to hurt my feelings, that would bother me, that would justifiably so make me angry, things that have come up, and instead of reacting in the way I used to, or would have hurt feelings or whatever the case may be, it's like, okay, so what? I'm just going to let that off. I just let it go. I don't care. It's not that big of a deal to get all upset about. And so it's a really good feeling when you can start ignoring things or backing away from things and not letting it affect you day and night, keep you from getting sleep, whatever the case may be, kind of dismissing relationships. Sometimes we need to dismiss relationships. I've seen that a lot lately as things in the world change. And so, yes, that's important. But there are a lot of times then when, if it's something that really doesn't matter in life, and it's like, okay, a month from now, is that little thing that happened that was really annoying or mean, is that going to matter at all? No. So, it's just better to let it go and get on with life. So you cannot control what other people do or say, but you can certainly control how you act and react to what they do. And that includes being, focusing on getting into a different kind of job, different kind of career, the kind of life that you really want and deserve, not the one maybe you've grown up with or that people told you, well, that's what you need to do because that's really where you're qualified. Too many miracle stories that I've shared with you, and too many miracle stories that I see about people who, like on America's Got Talent, and the guy that was called a chicken catcher because that's literally what he did down in, I think it was Alabama or somewhere. He had to go chase and catch chickens. That was his job. And so the first time he came on the show, you could kind of tell he was a chicken catcher, but he did the most amazing song, sang, and he actually won the $1 million prize for that season. And so you just never know. And so we don't want to settle for things that we think, well, that's what I was told I was best at, or they told me I couldn't achieve very much. When Einstein was 4 and he was told that, his parents were told that he wasn't going to amount to much, really? Okay, so we can't let people's words or even treatment of us affect us. We boot them out and move forward. And so think about that. And then, how do I look? How do I act? Is my energy positive? Is my energy negative? Because energy is everything too. I mean, what we give off, we feel people's energy. And sometimes I'll have to check myself and go, how is my energy? Do I, am I giving off any negative energy or angry or sad or even tired, whatever the case may be? And so a lot of times check your energy when you're around other people and see what's happening, see what's going on. And so, when somebody upsets me, do I bite back at them? Do I kind of look down and, my eyes are just looking down like that and I'm maybe kind of cowering? Or am I strong? Am I looking into their eyes? Am I rolling my shoulders back and standing up straight and looking them in the eye when I have something that I need to deal with? So what am I doing? How am I acting and reacting? And then watching, okay, how are they responding to me? They might back down if it's something they need to, might get stronger. There are times it's like, you know what? I hear you. I got to go now, and just walk away. And a lot of times that's a really good thing to do. So, I want to show that I'm engaged in a conversation. You lean forward, you give them good eye contact and talk to them and ask questions, and then be an effective listener where maybe you can repeat back something that they said to you so they know you heard it, that you were listening to them. And so always think about that. Watch others in their personal as well as their professional lives to see how they're acting, see what they're doing. Watch them and see, well, they're doing this and it's very effective, and how they're communicating with other people. I want to start projecting more of that kind of temperament, that kind of interest in other people, which will in turn help me to get a better job, one that I want, one that I need, and also remembering one that I deserve. Because a lot of times I think we just don't get a job because, well, I don't deserve it, I don't have the education, or I don't have the money, or look what I'm driving. That doesn't mean anything, because I've seen too many success stories of people that were down literally on the street and became very, very successful. So we can never let those things haunt us or bother us or lie to us about our value and our worth. So think about that. Notice what's positive and notice what's negative. Okay, so then also success starts on the inside. So we always consider our self-image checkup. Listen to your voice, because I've shared before, I was told by my mentor that I used to teach modeling classes for that I sounded very unprofessional when I answered the phone, and I was working for the director of unemployment at the Labor Department. This was a long time ago, and even though I was offended at first, I swallowed my pride and I listened to her, and I thought, boy, you're right, I really do sound unprofessional. So I changed how I was coming off to people because I was not being professional. So I admitted it and changed it, and it was definitely for the better. So listen to how you sound. The tone of your voice is so important. The words that you use, and then how others are reacting to you. So 55% of our communication skills, as I've shared before, are nonverbal. How we sit, act, walk, stand, what we're doing with our hands, what we're doing with our eyes, where we're sitting in a room. Okay, 55%, so that's over half, just non-verbals. So then you think 38% is the quality of our voice. That's why I said the tone of your voice. It's your expressions, it's your pitch, it's the tone of your voice. And so listen to that. While only 7%, it's been proven over and over again, are the actual words that we use. I'm amazed at that. That seems like way out of line, but there have been so many tests and surveys and things like that that have shown that that's true. And so think about how people are reacting to you, okay? And then how you sound to them, because sometimes we can say something and we don't mean it the way it sounded. Maybe it was something kind, nice, caring, and yet we had a rough morning, for instance. And so we're kind of biting at them, even though we don't mean it. It's the tone of the voice, possibly, where the words are fine. But one thing that I always watch so carefully is what someone says. Are their eyes saying the same thing? Is their body language saying the same thing? Are they really strong? Are they very, seem like they don't want to move? And how are they acting? A lot of times people say things that are maybe sound fine, but if you look at their body language and their eyes, they're just saying a whole different thing. So you don't want to just go off and think, okay, we got that taken care of. You need to say, you look a little bit concerned. What's on your mind? Tell me what you're thinking. something like that, so that people know that you are noticing that there is something wrong. You're not going to let it go. You want to take care of it. So always think, how does my face feel? Does my face feel angry, happy, sad? What is my face doing? Because our face is going to say a lot. I used to have people say, you look angry or you look sad or whatever. And it's just my mouth naturally droops. And, so I realized sometimes I need to just hold my mouth different because I wasn't upset at all, but it's just the natural drooping. And so think about that. How does my face feel? How is it looking? What kind of image am I giving off to other people? Because each one of us are our own brand. And so people are going to judge us according to that. And how do you feel? Again, shoulders, eyes, how you walk, the expressions, the voice, all of that is going to give off a particular message. And you want yours to be one of a confident, strong, positive person. Yes, not of somebody who's a pushover. I don't mean that at all. But, just really think about watching other people too. What kind of impressions are you getting? And like I've mentioned before, once in a while, turn the volume off on the television and watch people. I don't watch soap operas. I can't stand them, but they would be a good one to tune into for just a few minutes and try to think of what they might be saying by watching their body language. Actors and actresses have been taught how to emote. That means showing emotions, whether they have to look like they're, dealing with tragedy or happiness or joy or anger. They're taught how to emote and do that. And we can really teach ourselves a lot too in that by watching other people and seeing, how does that make you feel? And how are they interacting with each other? So especially on stage, they learn a lot about emoting to come across as being genuine in what they're saying. So we always want to look the part, and that means we always want to act the part. So sometimes even going into an interview, you might be very nervous, but you're going to have to, really take some deep breaths, calm yourself down, and go in there because you're already prepared, as I will talk about. And so think about that and how you act. One of the things I always taught in classes too was if you're nervous, that you put your hands up this way, one palm and the other, but hands up, put them on one leg or the other. Because if you have your hands like this, and you might be sprawled all over the chair. So when you're in an interview or anything where you're trying to get across a certain message and you don't want to fidget, you don't want to do this, because I see people on television, even in very well-known programs where there's interviewing, and there's a couple of them I noticed they're always doing things with their hands, and that's not a good sign at all. So just cup one inside the other, up, put it on one leg, and then you are confident and you're comfortable in what you're doing. So that's really an important message as well. Okay, so some of the things too is before you leave, anytime, not just for job interviews, but anytime, look at yourself in a full-length mirror. What are you seeing? Someone who's very kempt, comfortable. You don't have to be dressed fancy, but it's everything clean and neat and looking like you're professional. Because even when people are going out on a company gathering, or maybe some people do golf, it depends on the job. But what are people seeing? Because it's like somebody has, nice iron shorts and a nice polo shirt, clean tennies, and then someone else maybe just, something kind of raggedy or been out of shape and all this. There's a definite message that's delivered to other people by that. So think about that too. Look at yourself in the mirror, and especially if you want a job or have a job where you're dealing with people's money, they look at people as, well, I trust you, look at you, you're all pulled together, you're organized, everything looks good. Or it could be, your hair looks like it hasn't been combed in a week. You don't look like somebody that I really want to have handling my money or my customers, because you're just not coming off the right way. And so think about that too. What do you see when you look in the mirror? And then check out other people. What do you see when you look at them and what they're looking at you? Because like I've said many times, that first impression is made in as little as 7 seconds, sometimes even less. And in that 7 seconds, we're judging people by, their self-image, their outlook on life, their economic and educational levels, their trustworthiness, their social position, their future success. And so people are making those same judgments So no matter where you are, especially if you want to talk to people about career opportunities, think about all those things and how you're portraying yourself. So clothes reflect the personality and the commitment. That's very true, and that you want to do a good job for them. I used to work in human resources for several years, and I can remember people coming in there that it was like, really? You know, nails all different colors, midsection showing with belly rings, and just all kinds of things. And they're so distracting. And people don't realize when they have things going on that are very distracting, the person that they're talking to may not be listening very carefully to what they're actually saying, because they're so distracted on what's going on with them. You know, look at this, I can't take my eyes off this or that, in several different areas. So think about that, reflecting your personality. Is you're dressing haphazard, professional, organized, careless, careful? People will make a lot of judgments about that depending on how you look. And I know I've shared this before, I'll quickly share it again. When I was getting my hair cut by a gentleman who was a hairdresser by day, but a rock musician in a very popular band at the time at night. And he said, do you know what I look for first in a woman? And of course I was expecting some kind of crude answer, but he said her teeth and her hands, because her teeth and her hands say she cares a lot about who she is and what she does. And I would say that goes just equally for men too, that we can tell if someone cares a lot about themselves or not, and how interested they are in other people and their success as well. So think about your voice. I always think I have a little lower voice, I guess, but one of the things that's different is if you hear yourself speaking on a recording of any type or playing back a message, it's a different sound than what you're actually hearing when you hear yourself speak. Because when you're listening to yourself speak, like I am right now, there's all these little bones, these little vibrations in the ears through here. And as those vibrate, the sound you hear sounds different. So when you're listening to yourself, when you don't have that vibration going on, that's how everyone else hears you. That's what your voice really sounds like. So think about that as well. And it might be that you need to speak more forcefully, tone it down a little bit, project yourself a lot more confidently. There's a lot of differences. So listen to your voice on a recording and see, oh, that sounds good. Or maybe I could sound a little more confident, whatever the case may be in that. So always think about that. You want to sound strong, but not overbearing. Never want to sound weak. You can sound very caring. And I do that a lot because I really care about people. But there again, we have to be careful and never want a sarcastic tone. There's a lot of sarcasm going on in the world right now. And I have really pulled myself away from that because we don't need it. We don't need to be around people who are sarcastic. And so we just kind of back out and go be with like-minded people, okay? And so communication skills make you and break you. That's very, very important. And so think of like even a 30-second or so, 15-second introduction. So when you're out meeting people, and maybe you are looking for work or a better career, whatever the case may be, and you meet people, you can meet them at a kid's game, most any place, and you get to talking, and it's like, okay, well, I'll let everybody know that what I'm looking for. And so an example for me could be, I provide individuals who want to change careers with new thought processes and communication skills to greatly enhance their career development or their marketability. And so just something that short, that simple, people know, oh, okay, so she's into training, she could really help me because I'm needing a new job, but I know I need to, really polish up my skills, how I communicate with people, my appearance, whatever the case may be. So just think of even a real short, like 15-second introduction of what you do for other people. A lot of times people will just introduce themselves, oh, I do this and I do that. And, it's like, no, it's that WIFM, W-I-I-F-M, what's in it for me. And so you always want to let people know what's in it for them. So what I said in there was that I can help them with those areas and make them more marketable, but it's actually what I can do, but it's for them. Not, oh, I do this and I do that. Sometimes that's great for maybe a minute, and then it gets a little annoying. So think about that. And so, and then you also want to introduce yourself last. Like, if it's just you're going around and networking in a room, and I would say, I'm a speaker, author, and trainer with Soaring Higher Rocks. My name is Rita Rocker. Why did I say it that way? Because I was just at an empowerment breakfast last Friday, and I noticed that as people introduce themselves, of course, we always say our name first. But the thing is, the first 7 seconds or so, people are checking us out physically. They're not really listening that well to what our name is, because we have to get through this physical, thing first before we start listening really to what they're saying. So sometimes then, and I've done this a lot of things I can remember, names I'm still not all that good at, but what you want to do is be able to say what you do for the company or for yourself, and then give your name, because by then they're listening and they'll remember your name a lot more likely than if you were just to say, hi, I'm Rita Rocker, and da-da-da-da-da. So think about that when you're introducing yourself. It's very, very effective to do it that way. It's a little uncomfortable. I've had classes that I taught where I had them get up and interact, and like they were going around meeting other people and doing that for practice, and then they would sit down and I'd say, how did that feel? And they all felt, it was a little uncomfortable, it was a little weird, but they could see the benefit of it if you're wanting people to actually remember your name and hear it. So that's something too that's very important. And then, always check their reaction. Once you say what you do for them, check their reaction and then add thank you. And tell me, would you please share with me what you do? So that's really important too. You always want to find out what the other person is doing so they don't feel like they're just kind of there listening to a sales pitch. Because a lot of times in networking, you can see people, they just want to pass out their cards to everybody without really finding out what the other person does and what they need. And maybe you can't help them, but you have a contact for them that can help them. That in turn can also cause them to want to help you as well. So it's about care. It's about building relationships first. And a lot of times I've read, don't try to make a sales pitch with somebody, even if it's just, to hire you right away. You need to build up a relationship that produces trust. And then you can go ahead and do that and, talk to them more about what you can help them with. But always ask them a lot of questions about them. That is very, very important as well. So when you're preparing for your future, for your career, whether it's getting out of high school, getting out of college, being 50 years old, 60 years old, and you want to, move over to a different career, there are certainly so many positive ways to do that. I've worked with military people who, they kind of struggle a little bit sometimes getting into the civilian world because of the lingo, how they've been trained to talk a lot of times. And so worked with them to take resumes that were very much military language and turn that into more civilian language in their resume. It's the exact same thing, but it's making it in a way that's very friendly to people so they understand what they need to do, what their experiences are, but in lay terms, not in military terms. Worked with other people who, they, like the woman who had been a scientist with animal products for most of her life, but she was in a lab and she wanted to get out of the laboratory and she wanted to do things. She was a great lady. She was very shy. So I worked with her on trying to project herself to get into more of a sales position with animal products rather than sitting in a lab all day. And like the farmer that he had been a farmer all his life, but he was tired of it and he was physically needing to get out of that. But he had all this knowledge and he says, well, how am I going to get another job? I've been a farmer all my life. So I said, well, you do inventory. You have a lot of agricultural knowledge. Obviously, you do purchasing. And, he's selling. He's have these business connections with the people who buy his products. So I took everything that he did, whether it's marketing, sales, all of his agricultural knowledge, and made a really great resume for him. So he was able to get a really good job with an agricultural company where he didn't have to farm anymore. But he was very valuable to them and very grateful that we could take all of that and turn it into something else that was really beneficial for him at that point in his life. So please don't think that just because maybe you've done a certain thing all your life, that you have to stay in that. I did administrative work most of my life and I hated it, for the most part. It's like, gee, I'm tired of just doing somebody else's typing and this and that and answering your phone. I want to do something that I really want to do, which was more speaking, training, writing. And my 5th book is coming out in a couple of weeks. And so we always want to think about things like that. There is a definite way to take what you've done, even if it's from high school, coaching, training, theater, whatever, and turn it into an entirely different resume than what you think by your experience. And I'd be happy to help anybody on that. So always be careful of that. Make the list, what you really want to do in life. And then, you put the things that you have experience in. Because honestly, I've worked with people like right out of school, or a college professor who was tired of academia. He wanted to get into the corporate world. And that was a challenge. He gave me 9-page curriculum vitae. I got it, funneled down to 3 pages. But he still said he wanted to frolic on the beach, and he left that in his cover letter, so whatever. But anyway, I will share more with you on the next program, and know that you can really transform your career. Talk to you later.